Let's get into the markets update now, and jitters remain on global markets as investors await the latest inflation numbers from the United States today. The U.S. consumer price inflation figures come as China has fallen into deflation as the country's economic recovery falters and demand slows. Meanwhile, the emerging market currencies, including the rand, still on the losing side of this week's market activity. Let's speak now to Chief Investment Officer at Makwe Fund Managers, Makwe Masilela, speaking to us now. Mr. Masilela, thank you very much for your time. Let's start with those global and local activity. What does the situation look like in early trade as the world anticipates the United States CPI data?
We managed to open in the positive. Remember, we were closed yesterday, and we are right, markets continue to digest the inflation numbers that we got from China yesterday. But all it does, it reinforces the expectations that given that the economic recovery is not doing that great in China, then the Chinese authorities, they have to come with extra stimulus. And yes, we're looking ahead to the crucial U.S. inflation numbers, because that will give us a hint what will be happening with interest rates, especially when the guys are meeting next month, because they made it very clear that going forward it's going to be data dependent, and so far people still expect that there might still be one interest rate hike that is still left. If not, interest rates will just stay higher for long in the US.
Let's talk currencies. The rand remaining vulnerable along with other emerging market currency peers. Talk to us about that performance.
You know, in an environment where people are not too happy with the economic conditions, an environment where interest rates are going up, the likes of the US dollar, they continue to be a much better safe haven compared to gold. So we see a lot of people going to what do you call it, to buy the US dollar, and that's negative for the rand itself. And also because people were not too happy and be disappointed by the Chinese data, then we see that commodity prices have been going down. Remember, the rand itself is a commodity currency, so that continues to weigh on the rand.
Let's get straight into company news, starting with education group Advitech, releasing a statement, trading statement that is, saying it expects higher headline earnings per share and normalized earnings of between 22 and 27%. What do you attribute this to?
You know, it just shows you that all divisions, they continue to contribute positively. Remember, they're also involved in resourcing, which is recruitment. And now it's also very encouraging to say that people, even the economic conditions are very hard, they continue to invest in their education and also on their personal development. And you compare them to their competitors, your Curo, your Studio, you can see that they're the bigger company because they've got a market value of almost 10.4 billion compared to 5.4 billion of Curo and 4 billion of Stadio. And they've got a lower PE ratio of almost 12.7%. Stadio, I think they've got a PE of 24, and then Curo, they're sitting at just over 14. And they're a very good dividend payer because their dividend yield is much higher at 3.2% compared to that one of Curo, which is sitting at 1.2%, and of Studio is 1.8%.
There's an update on the repurchase program by Naspers. What do we know about the details of that?
Remember, the guys a month or so, they indicated that they'll be doing away with the cross-holding structure. The reason they did that was to make sure that they continue with this buyback program. And so far, the buyback program, since it has been instituted, they've managed to reduce the discount to the net asset value by anything between 16 and 18%. And by doing that, it's a reward to long-term shareholders. And remember, the guys are continuing to struggle to make sure that they unlock value as much as they can.
Then there's also an update on the acquisition of an interest in Maziv, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly, by Vodacom. The matter is heading to the Competition Commission, though, for tribunal. Talk us through that detail.
Competition Commission said no. Tribunal don't approve the deal because if it gets to be successful, they will end up holding anything between 30 and 40%. And here you are talking basically fiber, because now they'll be acquiring the interest of Massive, where they know they've got Vumatel, they've got a dark Fiber Africa, but now if you compare this whole thing, the guys, they've been talking since 2021. It took forever. And as you are saying, the guys are saying, listen, Vodacom will invest another 10 billion to make sure that the underserved and the low-income areas get to be serviced and will create necessary jobs. But the Competition Commission are not buying into that. But the likes of Remgrow are continuing pushing ahead. And if you compare their coverage, I mean, Telkom continues to have almost more than 165,000 coverage of fiber, and then you're followed by your Vodacom just over 35,000 and Vumatel just around 20, and you combine those two, that's still far lower than what is Telkom covering, and MTN, I think they cover anything around 24,000. My point here is the guys are fighting for the space when it comes to fiber, and you start asking yourself that if Telkom could have continued to try to talk to MTN, will the guys will have they approved the deal? As we see, they cannot approve this current one. But I think it's a question of, we know that tribunal, they've got the powers to override whatever the Competition Commission have recommended.
Finally, let's talk about the Tongaat Hewlett business rescue process. This is in accordance with the status report that has been presented to shareholders. What's the latest there?
The law is you have to continue to update us. If you have not managed to finalize business rescue, you have to do that every month. And we know that this is the company which has got the biggest accounting scandal after Steinhoff, and they've got issue with their debt, which is just over 7 billion, and you compare that to the market value of just around 500 million. But they're making some significant progress because they've managed to reduce 80 bidders who wanted to acquire their assets to almost 8. And I think last month they did announce that they've got this company coming from Tanzania that they prefer as the bidder to come as a strategic partner. So we hope the deal will be successful so that they get to save the necessary important jobs in the sector.
Makwe Masilela is Chief Investment Officer and founder at Makwe Fund Managers. Thank you very much for that markets update.